Good afternoon. This is the Westport Board of Health meeting of October 31st, 2022. And under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. So the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first item on the agenda is reports from Matt, Director of Public Health, and the written report. Do you have any questions about that, Donna?
I do not.
I don't either, except just to say, as usual, a lot of work is being done. And so, Matt, your written report?
So just on the COVID side of things, for the month of October, as of something around 2:30 this afternoon, we've had 73 confirmed cases, no hospitalizations and no deaths. Pump reports look okay. Just to get back to COVID, we are having a clinic on November 4th over at the former high school in the cafeteria from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. All the vaccines will be available, the primary series, if you still need to get your primary COVID vaccine, and the new bivalent boosters, including the 5 to 11-year-old boosters will be available, and flu shots as well. So encourage people to come down if they need to get vaccinated in any way. Moving to director approved plans.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a plan for 54 Fallon Drive for a Norman DeMello on an 89,298 square foot lot. It's a repair of 3 bedrooms utilizing a quick 4. It's been through Concom. And then we have a plan for an Eric Kroll on 8 Bluestone Ave. New construction, 4 bedrooms on a 69,738 square foot lot, utilizing a quick 4 and a singular 960DN.
All right, so looking for a motion to approve those 2 plans. One on Fallon Drive for a quick 4, and one on 8 Bluestone for the quick 4 with a singular system.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Animal control, we continue to search for an animal control officer, but Nick's got a pretty good routine down, and we're covering things pretty well. We're in barn books right now. We're making quite a bit of progress on the barn books, and confident that we'll have those all completed before the deadline of December 31st. Transfer station, we have Ryan Furtado, who's our new hire that will be starting on November 5th. And, you know, he's a welcome addition, and looking forward to being eventually fully staffed, where we need to get back to over at the transfer station. That's all I have.
Okay. So we have a few minutes to go through.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would move that we would defer to review the minutes until Ms. Ryden is back,
Okay.
because she may have some edits that you and I might
Okay,
not
that's
see.
fine. All right. Yeah, so why don't we move to postpone the minutes for October 5th and October 17th and June 1st until the chair returns at the next meeting. All right. So is any of the, so I take it Deborah's not here for the Cape Bial Lane. Is that something that you expected her to appear on?
I didn't, it's on the other business now, I didn't expect her to appear.
Okay, so do you wanna
I just-
take the,
basically, did she go to put in an email in here?
Yeah, so there is an email with some background on that, that she wants to postpone her IA system tracking related to some construction that's going on her property. At least that's how I understood it.
Mhm.
And do you have a problem with that?
I don't,
Yeah,
under the
okay.
circumstances, I think it's a reasonable
Okay.
request.
Do we have any on file from that property?
I do not know, I'd have to take a look.
So it looks like the request is, she says we expect to recharge the system in April or May, and then the system operator will recommence the testing protocol at that time. So, so I would move to suspend the testing requirements for the system at, because we don't know where this is.
Yes, 31
Oh,
Cape
31
High.
Cape Bayal Lane, for a period to recommence no later than May 30th, 2023.
So I second that.
Yeah. Want a second?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I did forget to mention one thing under my
Oh.
report.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, as you know, John Schwartz has been working on running through the files. I just have an update on where we're at. Which, so, it's gone through 3,007 properties to date. No plans, this was a little bit surprising at this point. 602 files with no plans. Cesspools 54 and 220 pit and tanks.
I just wanted to add to that, so what I did recently, I think as I talked about it at our last, operating meeting, I took the list of all the systems that were identified as cesspools under the integrated plan analysis that the
Mhm.
consultant had done, and then looked at all the files associated with those plans. I think there was about 180 of them maybe. But anyway, 104 of them had no plans, which is a high percentage, and I've associated that, because that means when you open the file folder, there's no septic plan in there.
Right.
Which leads, at least me to think preliminarily, that they're cesspools, because they don't even have a plan approval to install a septic tank.
It's possible.
It's
but
possible.
I'm one of those that didn't have one on file, but I had a very rough
Yeah,
plan in my home, and I gave it to Matt, and I don't have a cesspool.
so I think it's, so Matt and I were talking about that, but it's kind of halfway through, and even, even if, I don't know, 75%, so with John being halfway through and having 600 with no plans,
Right.
and even if 50% or 75% of those are cesspools, that's a lot of cesspools.
It is.
And they could, they could, be non-compliant systems, so I think this data, clarification effort is important to figure out how we're gonna move forward, so.
How
That's,
many had pits and tanks again? What was
220 to this point. So 220 out of 3,007 properties.
Right, and so that's something that we have to look at separately as well.
yeah. Okay, so now there is a request to appoint a special agent under the Tobacco Control Collaborative Program, which, I'm sure is in these papers somewhere, but I don't have the name of the person off the top of my head. Okay, thank you. The applicant's name is Banha Solomon, and she's a recent graduate of Bridgewater State University with a bachelor's in public health. And so I would entertain a motion to hire Binha, if I'm hopefully close to pronouncing her first name correctly, Binha Solomon as a part-time tobacco inspector.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll give that back to you, just, and, so board member updates.
I don't have anything to update you.
My update is what I just talked about before, which is what I've been, what I've been doing, on our data refinement effort. Okay, so, wow, we've got a lot of time to kill.
Can we go back to, Matt, the director's report for a second? The barn book inspections, where are we at with how many we have left to do? Do we,
So let me see, we're about, without having the numbers in front of me, I'm just trying to recall. So Nick has out of his list, which was about 90 to 100 properties long, he's only got 16 left out of his list. So,
Okay.
and then Joe's got a half a list, and I'm not entirely sure how many he's done, because he's been busy with, other things, for Board of Health, that he's been working on. So we're probably a good 60% through it, all of it already. And Nick is working on a little bit every day. They'll get through the most of it, before the middle of November. It's just now it comes down to the people that work during the day. You have to make appointments with them, and sometimes you have to meet them right at 4 o'clock, or sometimes even after 4 o'clock, or even sometimes on a weekend. So those usually tend to take a little bit longer to get through, those types of inspections, just because of the way we have to arrange them.
So let me, ask, are you associated with the septic plan or something
No, I'm
else?
just a resident here with a public health company.
Okay, well, why don't we take that out of order?
are we expecting
I
anybody?
don't know, that's always the wild card, right? Because the agenda's public, and I don't know if anybody's gonna come in for
That's
the
right.
hearing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been notification, so,
Yeah,
okay,
no notifications, just the agenda.
yeah. All right, well, our first, plan is at 4:30, right? And
It's
it's
at
4:15.
4:30.
And it's 4:15 now, so.
I can talk a little bit more about the transfer station.
Okay,
So tomorrow, we're expected to get the porta-john delivered, the heated porta-john delivered, the accessible unit, so it's gonna be large, heated. Ronnie, the cemetery foreman, came down, dug us out a nice pad to place it in next to the new shed. And I ordered, just this afternoon, I ordered the hot water hand sink, for the transfer station, which I wanna place it in this giant accessible unit. It's a pretty large accessible unit. We're just gonna think that through a little bit more, because we don't want, the hand sink will freeze. The porta-john won't freeze,
Right.
because it's got chemicals in it to
Right,
prevent
right.
that. The hand wash sink may, depends, so
yeah,
if not, we may, depending on the size of it, we may have to put it in the new shed,
right,
which we could do if we have to,
yeah.
but that's not my first choice, so we'll play it by ear when when the units come in, and we'll see how we'll arrange it. But anyways, the accessible heated unit, porta-john will be there,
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then we'll get rid of the existing one that's there now.
So if the porta-john is, come on, Mark. So if the porta-john is heated, would you be shutting off the heat at night, that kind of thing? And that's why I would potentially freeze?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice. I don't know what kind of heater it's coming in. There was a few different options, so
Yeah,
see what it shows up with, and I don't think it's designed to leave going 24/7.
right, yeah. Yeah, okay.
And how about the bicycle? You were gonna we had a grant to set up a place for the bicycles. Do we have that yet?
So I gotta, we were awarded the grant. I don't know if the check had come in yet, but and I'm not sure that it will. I think we may have to submit as we purchase things and meet our layout to DEP, and they'll cut us a check. So I gotta set up a meeting with the grant coordinator from DEP. We've been kind of setting up appointments, but for one reason or another, either she got pulled away or I got pulled away. So we're gonna try to set something up this week, and then I'll get moving on that. But in the cards are bike racks and a shed to house the bikes. We wanna move everything away from the glass dumpster, so when people toss the glass in, if somebody happens to be down there, they're not gonna get, hit with an errant road piece of glass. So, yeah. So that's where we're at.
And another question I have about the transfer station is how are things going with the recycling for the Boy Scouts?
I haven't heard anything other than pretty good. It's going
That
good.
they've been picking them up and taking care of that?
Yeah, I haven't had any, nobody at the transfer station for staff has notified me that it's getting out of control, and they seem to be keeping up with it pretty well.
Yeah, it looks pretty orderly when I'm there.
Yeah.
Did you just, because we're picking topics, did you have a chance to look at my draft?
I did.
Is that okay?
It was. I just have to reread it again.
Okay, all right.
But it was. But you
Okay.
want to talk about the changes that are going to be occurring at with the
I could do
new
that now a little
requirements.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Actually effective tomorrow, Mass Department of Environmental Protection regulation is gonna go into effect to ban the disposal of textiles and mattresses. And this is the most recent of a series of waste bans that have been associated with all the materials that have been introduced, into the recycling, out of the solid waste stream and into the recycling stream, over the last several years. And, the items that are, put into separate bins from curbside pickup, and the items that the transfer station separate out in terms of cardboard, paper, glass, metals, certain kinds of plastics. And now textiles and mattresses are going to be added to that list. Textiles has a very broad definition, includes, clothing and linens and shoes and, pretty much anything made out of fabric. The only restriction in terms of recycling is that, it not be contaminated or contain, oil, oily rags and, things that would just, make it a hazard, to handle. And so the transfer station has now 2 new textile recycling bins that are available to folks, which we encourage you all to use. If for some reason you don't have a transfer station sticker, you can get a 1-day pass, to access all of the transfer station's facilities for that. And we've had, for quite a long period of time, a mattress recycling program, and so that's going to continue into effect. And mattresses are, what most people think mattresses are, but it also includes foundations and box springs, It doesn't include air mattresses and water beds and, some other categories of kind of non-traditional sleeping equipment, all of which is described on the Board of Health's webpage. Both of these items are described in terms of kind of what's in and what's out. Particularly with mattresses, wet or frozen mattresses. If it's in a shape that is, or contaminated with insects or otherwise contaminated, so if it's not in reusable condition, then you can bring it, to the transfer station, but it'll be treated for disposal rather than recycling. The difference being that recycling has a $20 fee and disposal has a $50 fee, and that's really kind of tied back to what essentially the town pays to manage those two different processing or end results. And landfills and combustion facilities are charging a lot more for mattresses than recycling operations, because they're able to reuse and make a profit off the mattress components. So it's a lot more cost effective for everyone to try to recycle their mattresses if they can. That's about it. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
You want to tell some Halloween stories?
4:30, so you might be able to move that up.
Oh, yeah. Is there a there's a 4:30? Okay, so, because Mark's here? Yes. Yeah, all right. So let's move up 171 Gifford Road. Mr. Rogers is here.
I didn't put a Halloween costume on. I didn't get the memo. My wife likes to do that. Yes, no? Yes. Good evening, folks. Would you like me to come over here? Mark Rodericks, Analysis and Design Engineering. I've got before us a septic repair plan for 171 Gifford Road for Mr. Landry. What we're proposing here to do is to replace the failed Title V system with a new system that consists of a single tank, 1,500 gallon septic tank, second compartment serving as a 1,000 gallon pump chamber discharging to a conventional stone and pipe field, 36 by 24, sized in accordance with Title V for the perk rate that we've got, 17 minutes per inch. There's a single waiver that I'm requesting today associated with the vertical setback to the water table. The waiver that I'm asking for is a reduction from the 4-foot vertical separation to 3 feet. As per my brief discussion with Matt, I'd like to contend that this system provides adequate environmental compliance to the system without the waiver. And what I wanted to point out to the board this afternoon was that the height of the system above water table, there's some 2.3 feet of slope, existing natural slope, where the leaching field is proposed. As per conventional design practices, I call the high water table 43 inches from the highest point existing below the system. So if you look at it, that would be the system at the far eastern side of the leaching field, which is pushed up to the east and to the north to the property lines with compliant setbacks and grading approximating to those walls, especially the stone wall to the north. So with a 2.3 foot difference in the water table and the high water table being measured from grade 43 inches down. I'm pointing out that at the high point, there's a 3-foot separation, just over 3-foot separation to water table. But if you move to the west, you'll see that with the 2.3-foot drop in existing grade, that actually I'm achieving a 5.3-foot separation to water table at the distal end, or actually the lead end of the system. So when you look at it, per the topography that was mapped for the area, approximately 60% of the leaching field is below the 4-foot separation. So we actually have a 5.3-foot separation at the lead end, whereas we've got a 3-foot separation to the distal end. So as I explained the map, why I feel that this 3-foot separation, which will achieve grading and get maximum setback from the on-site well and the bordering wetlands which lie to the west, that I feel that this is an environmentally compliant system of equal environmental protection as to using the 4-foot separation from the high end of the system, the distal end of the system. So that's why in this case I thought it was worth presenting to the board the request for the waiver, because more than 60% of the system is higher than 4 foot above the water table, which might not be trivial to the eye to see, but that's why I am here with that waiver.
Okay. And so rather than raising the system, you're just asking for the waiver?
Yes. Yes, if I was to look at the high end of the system and maintain the 4 foot, the system's essentially 1 foot higher. That would put me grading to the north and to the east a little further away, so I'd be sort of trying to nudge the system closer to the house, to the well, and to the wetlands to get good grading for stormwater flow.
Okay, yeah.
So my trade-off was push the system to the northeast, ask for a 1 foot waiver, get good grading off property, where 60% plus of the system has greater than a 4 foot separation to the water table.
Okay. Can I just ask an overall question, which I may have missed, but, you know, since this is a repair, was there, it doesn't seem like you, unless maybe I missed it, that you did look at the maximum feasible compliance issue?
In this case, well, I did. I didn't make any reference to maximum feasible compliance. In that this is a 4-bedroom design that sits on a 52,000, did I remember correctly? 50,000 square foot lot. So 4 bedrooms at 50,000, I think gives an equivalent or adequate ratio of the 4-bedroom 40,000 square foot lot. And in addition to that, I was able to keep greater than 100 feet from the wells. On-site well is the only one that's in any close proximity, and the wetlands where I've got more than 100-foot separation to the wetlands area, Phil.
I was thinking more in terms of our, you know, our policy around, you know, looking at whether, you know, a down gradient well has an excess level of nitrogen in it, and because isn't that kind of like a standard protocol, or am I just missing something?
We haven't been requiring well tests if they're 100 feet or more.
Oh, of 100 feet or more. Okay,
Yes, sir.
That's what
my
I'm missing.
understanding
I'm
of the
sorry.
situation as well, Phil.
That's what I'm missing. Okay, right. I apologize. I knew that there was.
Because I've been the D-night guy here for a
Yeah,
while
yeah.
here. I've been sort of ahead of the game and
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
maintain my reputation as supporting the
Right,
nitrogen
yeah.
reduction where I feel it's appropriate.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, our perspective on that had, you know, changed as a result of communications with DEP, but it still hasn't quite lodged deeply in my brain, I guess.
Well, I go
Okay.
back and forth myself, to be honest with you, but if I see 4 bedrooms, 50,000 square feet and 100-foot separation, that's where I start to see if conventional is an appropriate application in these cases,
Yeah,
which is not often the case, I must say,
Okay.
these days.
all right. Do you have any comments, Matt?
I do not.
Okay,
Well, neither do I.
all right.
So I move that we approve the plan for 171 Gifford Road dated 10/7/22 for a 4-bedroom repair, with the variance of a decreased in vertical separation between the SAS and the high groundwater elevation from, I believe it's 4 to 3 feet, with one condition, hold harmless agreement.
Yes.
Yep. Second. Do you need that to get repeated? Okay, okay, great. All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you for considering.
thanks, and have a happy Halloween.
Same to you also. I'll have a good one to bring to the board soon. I'm working down on the beach.
Oh,
Oh.
good.
We'll have some interesting discussions in the future.
All right, Take care.
See you later.
all right, so we have to wait a few more minutes still?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, just in case.
Okay.
Just in case, yeah.
Okay, sorry, we're gonna have to wait a few more minutes.
Oh, we had another speaker before?
No, it's just
No.
that you're on 440,
Okay.
and,
Do you guys have plugs to my iPad? I think visual evidence will open your eyes. No, to put it on display.
Oh.
yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, I mean, we probably do, I just don't know how to operate that thing.
I'm an IT guy. I build apps and websites. So
Yeah, yeah,
That's okay. I can always let you guys see it.
yeah,
It's easier.
okay. So, recognize for these, okay. Pass this on to you.
I'm wondering if you want to report on our involvement in the committee, the Resilience Committee,
On the.
on the climate
oh.
resilience, because we had a meeting related to water and on the subcommittee.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to you that I pointed out that they asked for prioritizing
Yes,
certain issues, and I prioritized based on the things that the Board of Health has been focusing on.
yeah,
So, I know that, I mean, when you came in, you also addressed the very same thing. So the issues were the health of the river, nitrogen reduction, anything, the dealing with wells,
Yeah.
and they talked about the drought and
Yeah.
how that was a byproduct of the climate change. But that was another area that we were talking about, is how were you gonna address
right,
dealing with use of watering lawns and so forth during drought conditions.
right, yeah. Yeah, Matt actually earlier passed on to me, because there's a kind of a blueprint or a template that has been developed by Mass Health Officers,
The MAHB,
MAHB.
What's
For
MHB?
private,
Mass
Mass-
Association of Health Boards.
Okay,
for regulating private wells. And I think it addresses the drought issue.
okay.
And, I mean, I think the other thing that's gonna move forward, which I think I mentioned before, is, related to this, is the kind of upgrading, so to speak, of the town's emergency response plan. And at
Right.
least to the extent that we're looking at the health impacts of, storms and flooding and displaced people and, lack of housing and that kind of stuff. So, and I think Matt's gonna, or maybe the person that, we hire through the collaboration, kind of participate in that process.
I will say, in relationship to what you guys are speaking about, we had a keynote speaker at the conference that spoke all about this, emergency preparedness, climate change, and everything that you guys are working on. So those presentations will be available in the next day or so, and I'll pass them on to you guys. But it was a fantastic presentation, and it really spoke a lot to what you guys are working on the Climate Resilience Committee.
Yeah.
That's great. And what other kinds of things were the focus of the conference that you went to?
It was a wide variety of things, from these new PHE Excellence Grant Collaboratives to a lot of Title V, DEP stuff, which I attended heavily because I always like to keep myself in tune with what's going on over there. But there was a lot of vendors set up, so I get to look at the different technologies. We're going to be looking to move to digital software for food inspections, housing inspections, and all of our inspections. So the grant money will pay for that software and those tablets to do that. So I kind of made my decision on who I want to go with, and I'm going to have them put a demo together for the board, and so we can all go through that and take a look at that stuff. There was a lot of interesting things. The DEP commissioner spoke, the DPH commissioner spoke. So there was a lot going on. It was a busy week.
I think it's really helpful for the people in the town to know what you're learning and how you're bringing that back to the town to make improvements and move us forward. So maybe the next time you go to a conference, you can do a report about what was in the conference, and so that people just don't think you're going to the conference and the town is not gaining anything from it. We're gaining an awful lot.
Yeah, definitely are, I'll put together some next year when I go again next year.
Okay. So it's good to hear that they are addressing climate resilience and climate change issues as well.
It was a very good, the speaker was very good. He was a doctor from, I want to say Brigham and Women's maybe, but he's heavily involved with this, and I can't wait to get the presentation and pass it along. I think you guys will like it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matt.
I think we're close enough.
All right. So why don't you, come up, Mr. Papa, and you can do it here. Yeah, that's fine. Just state your name.
Video too.
Just state your name for the record, okay?
My name is Edison Papa. I lived at 40 Oakland Avenue in Westport, Mass. And I have a nuisance neighbor that violates the law that I've been dealing with for 1.5 years. And his address is 803 State Road. So I'll do a little quick introduction about me. I'm a Boston boy. I moved here 1.5 years to buy property. Love the size for my dogs. Get to go enjoy out there. My brother who has asthma, he used to come to visit me, but not so much anymore. So my issue started about 1.5 years with my neighbor 803, who loves to burn. He'll burn trash. He'll burn whatever he wants. I originally tried in a nice neighborly way to tell him that it was bothering me. He told me to F off. So the problem came to head this summer where my family was coming over and they suffered from asthma, and he was burning so much garbage that I just couldn't my family had to stay inside. So the fire department, Captain Bristol, did an excellent job in June. They came to his property 10 to 12 times, constantly telling him not to burn garbage. He did not listen, so they filed a criminal complaint against him. As of today, he is banned from ever burning outdoors. He cannot burn anymore. And he got fined for the 12 visits, which were over $3,000 worth of money, right? So that's good for me in one sense. The bad thing is now he's got his outdoor wood furnace firing up in that video. So he knows he can't burn outside anymore, and he knows he doesn't want to pay for trash because he's lived there for 30 years. So now he burns at that his outdoor wood furnace. But he tries to be a little bit cute about it, right? He'll burn a little bit of trash, right? throw a lot of wood, still create a lot of smoke. I can smell all over my property. I can smell outside when I walk the door. Because he thinks he can get away with it. He thinks he never has to pay for trash pickup. He never has, and he never will, you know? And so this morning, just want to show you, I'm not sure if you can see a video. You can see him burning a little bit of trash. You can see the black smoke. That's the norm. That's what I gotta deal with every morning from 6 to 7. Not sure if you can see that. Were you able to see that video?
Yeah.
Oopsie. That's one of these things. So you can see the video. What's going on? That's more clean.
So how do you know it's trash that he's burning in there? Can you see that from your property? Or
I
you
can't see, right? But you can definitely see the column, but you can smell it.
Uh-huh.
You can smell that. I'm not sure if. You can see the color, it turns black at
Yeah.
the beginning, and then it winds up. Because he has a little trash in there, it's black at the beginning, he'll put more wood in there, but you can smell it as soon as you walk on my property. On top of that, he also, when he's not burning trash, right, he produces so much smoke that the smoke gets into my property where I can smell it from my front door here. Here's the video that I have. Let's see if I have that video. Forgive me here. It creates like a fog onto my property. Why is this not playing today? Oh, man. How's your eyesight? You guys have decent eyesight? It's hard to see, but that's not the best video right here. I'm sorry, I thought I had a video.
That's okay.
There we go. You can see, right?
Yep.
He just throws in a lot of fun. It just smokes, and you see the fog, the smoke just
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
through. And it just, I built that shell last year as a little man cave for me because I work from home.
Yeah.
It just, my shit stinks. And you can see the smoke just creeping into it. And as soon as I walk out my door, I can just smell it. And it smells like gasoline and tons of wood. And it's just the gas just creeps right in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I got tons of video about this. And it's just, not sure if you can see it. Do you want to see it or? That
Yes,
house?
I'd like to see it.
It's like a fog, basically. And this is a not burning trash. Why is this not playing? Oh, there we go. Because I have to hit play. Let me play this real. You see, and then it just starts creeping right into my property. I can even use that shed. I spent $30,000 last year to build that shed so I can work from home, where I have my internet, where I can get an office, and it's just all over my inside my shed.
Are any of your neighbors complaining?
Yeah,
as
they
well?
do. So my next door neighbor, he complained and said nothing ever happened, so he gave up. The other neighbor, my police officer neighbor, Fernando, he knows it smells. He says, Eddie, I smell the trash tonight when he's burning. I see it. Even last year, a couple times, he had fire coming out of his chimney, like big fire embers. We got scared and we ran. You know, me and my neighbor, you could ask Fernando. He's Fernando Conclaves is his name.
Mm-hmm.
40. He told him, hey man, you got fire embers coming out. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just me throwing gasoline in there.
Right.
He also has a history of his property burning due to this. So this is, this is not a guy that's safety measuring. He's got three or four, and you can check on this, 3 or 4 instances of his garage burned down. The insurance refused to insure him unless he got fireproof walls. And most insurance companies don't even insure. But the first thing he told to me when I was building that shed is you better get fire insurance on that, right?
How far away is the boiler from your property?
It's about like 100 feet.
Okay.
It's about 100 feet,
So.
Oh, for my property or for my house? Oh, for my property, it's less than 100 feet. So,
Right.
like if you can see right here. Sorry, for my property. Let me just really, there's actually a bad
So
picture here.
what's 100 feet from? Okay.
So you can see that my property is all the way. So my property is all the way back to where his, behind that, because that's my septic.
Yeah,
And so you can see, so it's about 20 feet, 20 to 10 feet from my property.
yeah,
It's really close.
okay.
You can see, so it's really, you see that tree right there?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, it's this way.
that's okay.
But if I show you the tree, you can see it. I'll hit play this.
Okay.
Just want to show you the tree here. You can see how close it is. So that tree right there, back, I'm sure you can see, that tree is right on the fence, and so it hits about like 20 to 10 feet from my fence.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
it edges my fence.
Right.
I mean, sorry, a little bit. There it is, here's a better picture. So that's my fence property. I have with Ralph, who's coming over to my property, because he keeps throwing his wood up against my fence and it's twisting
Yeah.
and destroying my fence. But that's my fence, and that's a wood furnace.
Right. Okay,
So it's really, really close.
yeah,
And it's just, I've tried everything with this guy, I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
the fire department knows he has a history of burning
yeah,
garbage. He's
Yeah.
not gonna stop. I know he does it usually from 6:30 to 9 a.m., because that's when he wakes up. I work from home, so unfortunately, I see a lot of it. So from 7 till 9, he's usually is when he's really firing that furnace up. Sorry, I had some notes here. I know Mass has a 20% opacity law, that you can only do 20% opacity for 2 minutes in any 1 hour period. He exceeds that consistently. I mentioned he's had a criminal case open with the fire department, so he has a known history of refusing to change his behavior.
yeah,
You know, it comes a time where people abuse outdoor wood furnace, right? I have no problem with him even if he never burned garbage, or even if he controls smoking, he doesn't throw tons of gasoline in there. But he doesn't care,
yeah,
because he knows nothing will happen. But we do have Mass, we do have the Board of Health. We have, the Department of Environment says if the smoke becomes a nuisance, you can see the amount of smoke that comes from our property. It becomes a nuisance where it's hard for me to breathe. I can't even go outside with my dog sometimes.
yeah,
It's just the smoke just comes in there. He says, oh, it's just the wind. But it doesn't matter if it's the wind or not. You're doing that, you have to somehow prevent that.
right,
Where I can't, my dogs can't even run outside sometimes because there's so much smoke. I also tried to call the Westport station where you do the garbage. Usually you have to put your address, you put a track punch card.
yeah,
They say we don't have a history, but they couldn't double check because I don't have authority. They don't even have a history of this guy ever going in there. He doesn't have any garbage cans up there.
right,
He never does garbage pickup. I mean, I see every day.
yeah,
So I know he's not doing garbage pickup, so he's either tried to dump it in there, but if you look at his punch card, you're probably not going to find much of anything. You know what I mean?
right,
So I'm at my wit's end. It's not fair that I have to pay for garbage. I have to breathe this, and he can get away with it.
Does he have some sort of commercial activity on his property?
He has a commercial license for construction,
Okay,
but he just heats up the garage. He usually just heats the garage so he can just leave the door open, and he can get that heat, which I have no problem with it if
Yeah,
he
yeah.
can control it. It doesn't
Right,
burn
right,
garbage, it doesn't
right.
create that black smoke.
okay, okay,
I just don't know what else to do.
yeah,
If I sell the house, I'll take a loss,
yeah,
right? But what's the next person gonna sell their house? Can never live there. Nobody can ever live there. The fire department opened up a criminal complaint with him. He's got a history of his property being burned out. So we have a safety issue. We have him a known history of burning garbage, and we have the constant excessive smoke that he creates. This is why I'm coming to you guys.
right,
You guys are next. Fire department did a great job. He doesn't burn outside. Once they came the 10th time to open the criminal complaint, he stopped burning outside.
right,
He got scared and he got fined. you know what? Let me use my friends.
Right, yeah. Well, so first, you have my sympathy, because I imagine that
Yeah.
is, really bad conditions to have to deal with on the regular basis that you're talking about. So, I think what you're saying is also true, which we've confronted just generally in a number of different contexts,
Yeah.
which is that, people who are really scofflaws,
Yeah.
the system is not really designed to simply and effectively deal with people who refuse to obey.
Yeah.
It's just very time-consuming, resource-consuming, and both of those things are a challenge for everybody. I think it's great that the fire department, did what they did.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that they were able to do that is that they had some very clear authority
Yeah.
of his requiring a permit before he did any open burning. And that authority is clearly delegated to the fire department, and so they had a very clear, legal authority to go in and do what they did, and it's very simple to enforce, because you either have a permit or you don't.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say generally nuisance conditions, and particularly, for whether it would be, well, for us, we actually have to kind of like observe the nuisance in order to do it. And, if he's doing it at, various times of the day, and, if we're not living next door,
Exactly.
it becomes a challenge.
Yeah.
So also, but one of the things that, having moved from the open burning to the hydronic, is that what I was, yeah, the hydronic heaters, is that those systems have been, are subject to the Mass Department of Environmental Protection, that is the state environmental protection agencies. They have very specific regulations, which ban burning trash, which require certain setbacks
Yeah.
and heights of the smokestack, because one solution to the problem, would, potentially,
Yeah.
would be just to raise the smokestack, because I was looking at it,
Absolutely.
and the smokestack is not very high.
Oh, it's not very high at all.
Yeah, and, say my quick glance of the regulations is that, based on what you were telling me,
Yeah.
about the distances, that smokestack should be 150 feet high.
Yeah.
So, but, I think that, in talking to Matt about this, health director, I think the first step for us is just to clarify with Mass DEP what our authority is, whether they would get directly involved in enforcing their regulations. If not, could, can that be delegated to us? And what are we able, to do with that?
Yeah. My understanding that, if I'm incorrect, is MassDET allows both the fire department and the board of health to regulate burning and the amount of nuisance and smoke within the town. So I read that at the MassDET.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you guys too have,
Well,
they
we
do
do
give you
have-
the authority
Right,
to regulate smoke
Right.
and the smoke.
right. Well, we do have authority to regulate nuisances, and that's,
Correct.
and that's clear.
So we have a nuisance
but-
violation based on the videos. I mean, this is just. a
Yeah,
couple.
well, I'm not
Okay.
sure that we can, so, and so this is another, it's just, in my opinion, and this is what I want to talk to them about, and, it is, and particularly for air quality, you were talking about the 20% opacity and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That is, that requires a trained person, a person trained in, because I worked a long time in DEP,
Yeah.
you just can't send anybody out, even, you know, somebody who works in public health,
Yeah.
to make a determination as to whether an opacity limit has been reached.
Yeah.
It requires, and the same thing with odors, you know,
Yeah.
that people go to odor school in order to be able to go to court, because that's probably what it would come to,
Yeah.
to say, yes, you know, in my professional opinion, this smell constitutes a nuisance, you know, because of its intensity and duration, and the same thing with air quality. So I guess what I'm saying is that, that we need to first kind of dig in a little more into, you know, how we want to respond to this.
Yeah.
And so I've put in a call to my contact, or a contact I have at the Department of Environmental Protection in Lakeville, which is the regional office, just to clarify what it is. So if they would be prepared to get, I can convince them that they can prepared to come to get directly involved, or B, whether we can directly enforce our regulation, their regulation, which is a lot more clear,
Yeah.
or C, you know, where we have to use, you know, the odor, nuisance odor as a basis for enforcement, and then figure out, you know, what we can do about that, because our court resources are, you know, the budget that we have for going to court,
Yeah.
you know, is really controlled, you know, by the town administrator.
Yeah.
And so, and it's clear that us going out there and telling this gentleman to stop doing it is not gonna do any good, or give
Yeah,
him a
he's probably
ticket.
not gonna do it.
It's
I
not gonna
take
do
it
any
my-
good,
I
so,
take it my
so,
help.
yeah,
Take
well,
it my help that
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
been put on the system.
yeah, yeah,
Because the fire department went out there many times before I even moved down here.
right,
They have
right,
a history of it, and that
Right.
didn't work, right?
right, yeah.
Until the
But
criminal-
eventually, it took going to court and getting a fine and having the court order him to do
Correct,
something
correct.
to really, you know,
But
you
maybe
know,
this having
change
fun,
it.
the fact that he's got this criminal complaint already, maybe this might say, you
yeah,
know what,
yeah,
you know, I'm becoming
Right,
a nuisance.
right.
At least
Well-
as a start.
yeah. Well, so I think we need, you know, I'm gonna work with Matt and figure out, you know, what the next step is. Talk to DEP about this, and see if either they could get involved or clarify. Yeah, we can go out and say, you know, your smokestack has to be 150 feet high. And if
Yeah,
it's not
that'd be
150
great.
feet
Yeah.
high, you're in violation. You're too close to the property. You can have this, but you can't. But you've got to move your system. Now that's a lot easier than you're calling us up and saying he's burning trash and having someone run over in a car.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, no, I
you know,
see.
that's more
Yeah.
complicated. With the fire department, it was like, hey, he doesn't have a permit. I can see something's
I see.
burning. He doesn't have a permit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I need to
Yeah.
see. You know.
Yeah, but
just
I mean,
take
even
it,
that
take it.
might be worth it, and I hope I'd rather not deal with Mass Department because these federal departments are slow and they
Yeah.
got bigger fish to fry. Besides,
Well,
poor
yeah,
me.
that they may say that.
Poor me on 40 Oakland
Well, it's not
Avenue.
federal, it's state, but they may
Yeah.
say that. Look, it's, you know, it's in your backyard, you guys have to deal with it, and this initial question to me is, well, can we deal with that with your authority, or are we left with a nuisance situation, and then figuring out, okay,
Yeah.
what we're gonna deal with that? Because I think their regs, you know, make clear that they can't burn trash, the setbacks,
Yeah.
height of the stack, all these things. You know, so I agree that maybe rattling the saber at him will be enough.
Yeah.
But based on past history, you know, and what you've been saying about, you know, his reluctance to participate in normal solid waste trash
Yeah, I
removal,
know.
you know,
It's a
so
start, at
now,
least.
you know.
At least
you
he's
know,
on the radar. At least
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
start getting, okay, now this guy's coming after,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, maybe I have to
Yeah,
change some behavior.
yeah.
If-
But I think if you know, go back and, you know, document, you know, dates and times of
Yeah.
things, you know, that would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, I have that all here. I have tons of
Yeah.
videos. Who do I email it to?
Well, I don't think we need to, at this point, to email the videos, but I think knowing the number of, you know, the dates and the times, the number of violations, that would
Sure.
help at this point.
Yeah.
I would
And,
also like to hear Matt and what
yeah,
Matt thinks.
Just to say, if we're gonna, try to go at this as from a nuisance, complaint, we have to be the ones to document it.
right,
We can't
exactly,
rely on his videos or anything.
exactly.
So, feel free to call the office when it happens. Let us know. We'll do our best to get out there so we can witness it ourselves.
Yeah.
Take our own pictures for the file and document it the way we need to do it to carry forward. And,
So what do they call the Mass Department Island? Say, hey, it's 7 o'clock. You guys want to come out? Because he wakes up early. He does it from like 6 to 9, and he usually runs for a couple hours. Then he usually goes and does a little.
we're
work.
here, and we're here that early.
Okay.
So, we sign in. So if it's at 6 a.m., call, 7 a.m., call,
Okay.
and I'm sure he doesn't fire it up and it doesn't shut off in 5 minutes.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
So,
It doesn't.
even if, you know, you don't get us that early, we're here soon after. And we'll come out, we'll document it. I'm not gonna say we're gonna quote every single time, but if we have a few.
Yeah.
And depending on how we proceed, we'll be able to have our own documentation.
And I hope you guys do that because the fire department, Captain Brisk told me to do that originally, and I could never. I called, and by the time they came out, it was always gone. So I had to call 911. It was after I started calling 911, that's when the fire department come in. Because, like I said, when I called the regular
Yeah.
number, by the
And-
time they got it,
Right,
you know, so that's really why.
right.
The fire
And just,
department
yeah, and again, I'm no expert about that, but just in reading through the regulations, for example, the regulations recognize that, for boilers, you can use what they call an accelerant, which could be gasoline,
Yeah.
to get the fire going. And there are limits as to the time of how much smoke from an accelerant can, can be present.
Okay, yeah.
But, so again, that's where it takes, just like, you light your you want your charcoal to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get going, so you put
No, I
starter
know he
on
puts
it.
gasoline. He told me he almost burned his face up. A
Yeah,
few
yeah,
weeks
so,
ago.
so.
I mean, I saw the fire coming
Yeah,
out of his thing. It was
right,
like,
right.
I'd like
'Cause
to,
you-
to interject something.
Yeah,
I know we're talking about nuisance, but I also want to acknowledge that there is both a physical and a mental health issue here that's being impacted
absolutely.
by what's happening. And so I want to acknowledge that with you, Mr. Papa,
appreciate
that
that. Thank you.
I see this.
I mean,
Um,
it's
what
really
we-
not every day.
Okay, just let me finish.
Sure.
The issue is that we have to go by what the policies and regulations are in order to address that.
Sure.
But there is both a physical, health issue with the toxins and how it impacts on the lungs. But being a nurse, I know that well as constant exposure to toxins can affect the brain function. And it certainly makes me, wonder if the person involved is not aware that they could be impacting their own health. So I acknowledge, I want you to know that I
Thank you.
acknowledge
appreciate
that.
Thank you.
That it's very frustrating when someone doesn't recognize that their behavior is impacting their neighbor and not responding accordingly. But there are physical and mental health issues here.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
so Matt's invited you to give him a call. I will follow up, with,
Yeah.
with discussions with DEP to kind of frame out what we're gonna do, and, we've opened up a lot of communication.
Thank you very much. And
Okay.
Matt, do I have your contact? Matt, I have your contact? Do you have a card or is it just?
I don't have a card on me, but if you got a pen,
No, I can just.
I'll write it down.
Thanks,
It's just the main number of the health.
Spell your name, Matt. I'm bad with names. All right, so I'll follow up with Matt and I'm sorry, you're Phil?
I'm Philip, yep.
Oh, you go
Phil's,
by Phil or Phil?
I go by Phil.
Phil, I'll follow up with Matt and then I guess you'll keep me abreast?
Yeah, so I'll communicate with Matt, and he'll be the point of contact with you, because,
All right.
So when you call, either ask for me or Joe, or one of us will go out and we'll take pictures and take it from there.
Thank you, sir.
all right,
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
all right. Okay, So, our 450 case is 208 Saudi Drive, Westport.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience on that.
Yeah, no problem. It's okay, I just put it here, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we received for the record, Stevie Cavallo of Farland Corp. Received a comment letter with 2 minor revisions requested on this plan. The dosing schedule and a certification about omissions. I've added those. Got revised plans here in the filing fee. I don't know if it's okay for me to submit it here or just drop it off in the mailbox.
So, they should have been submitted before the hearing, so we
Yep.
can look them over.
Mm-hmm.
They're just being submitted now for the revisions, I mean, they're minor revisions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can make the approval subject to.
Yeah, for me to look at it.
Yeah,
Sure.
to your reviewing it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll take it if you just want to look at it.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So those are the full-scale copies, the revised plan. I have some reduced-scale copies if you want. It's really just 2 minor revisions here.
Oh, thanks.
I'll point them out, but the rest of the plan is the same. So the project consists of a septic repair of an existing failed system. The location of the existing system is a little unknown according to the current owner. It's in the vicinity of the leaching field, kind of in this northwest corner. Town had no records with regards to where that is. The current property owner said that they had relocated the distribution box for some reason at some point, and claims that this pipe here is the existing distribution box. I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. So what we're proposing to do is install a leaching field that consists of chambers. We went out there, did a perk test, and we got a perk rate about 12 minutes an inch. It's not terrible soil, it's actually pretty good. High groundwater, we had read-offs at about 23 inches, and so the system would be elevated. We've asked for a 1-foot reduction to seasonal, to the 4-foot required separation of seasonal high groundwater. That results in essentially 2.5, 3-foot mound. Due to site constraints, stone wall in the back and existing fence there, we feel that this kind of fits a little better in that yard. Try to reduce that mound as much as possible. It's a pump system. We've provided the dosing schedule. It doses almost 3 times a day based on 330 gallons per day. That's about it as far as scope of work.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions.
I just had a question about the system that's there now.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a leaching field type system?
My understanding is it's a leaching pit.
It's a leaching pit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an abandonment that generally comes along with that,
Mhm.
Unless, you think you're gonna dig it out with a new field, or is it gonna be outside? If it's not gonna be where you're digging out the new field, if it's somewhere else, so we gotta try to locate it and
Absolutely.
abandon it properly.
I agree.
So, you'll have to get back to us on that after you, get into this, to see if it's actually in where you're putting in the new leaching field, or if it's not, we're gonna have to find it.
Yeah, so when I went out initially to do the inspection, and took the current homeowner's, information that this is a 6-inch PVC pipe that comes to grade, it's got a cap and everything. He said that that's distribution box. He says that there was a leaching pit, he says there may be even 2. I was out there with a metal detector trying to find the cover, and I was picking up all sorts of trash. It was just, rebar here, a hanger there. It was really could have spent all day looking for the existing leaching pit. But I agree, during construction, I think the proper thing to do is trace, and it will be done once they remove the existing tank to put in the new tank and pump chamber. Trace the pipe, find out what type of components are there, where they are, and either remove them completely if they conflict with the existing system, or abandon them in place properly. I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it?
That's it.
Yeah. Anything else, Donna?
I didn't see, are the variances on this plan?
We submitted a separate letter. There is a request here for local upgrade approval for 1-foot reduction to groundwater separation. That's kind of in the profile here, the depth of the
We're
groundwater.
used to having the variances also included on the plan.
Okay. We could add a list of variances, or a list that the requested, put it in more of a note form with the rest of the notes as opposed to right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it with the rest of the notes, just make a separate note section, it says LUAs, you're asking for.
Sure, it's essentially take this note and then just put it in this format, but not with this.
Right,
Yep, we can do that, that's not a problem. Would you prefer me to take that back and give you a revised set that has that note?
and it's up to the board, but in my own opinion, is I'm okay with that, cause he has a cover letter,
Yeah,
but, going forward in the
No,
future.
yeah.
Sure, sure.
yeah. Okay,
And is everything else that you wanted on
Yes,
this
he
new
does have the
revision?
dosing schedule, and he does have the errors and omissions, so, he had everything else on here that we asked for.
yeah, okay. So we're thinking, he needs a 3-bedroom deed restriction,
Yeah,
Yes, there's
Concom
one,
too.
and then the local upgrade waiver for the, groundwater separation from 4 to 3 feet, and then a reduction in 12 inches, separation of the inlet and outlet too, that's part of it, right?
Yep,
Yep, that's listed in the local upgrade
Okay.
approval form.
And then, when I was looking at the, and then you're okay, Matt, with only one deep hole for the perk test?
That's all we require.
Okay,
Do
all
all the
right,
towns require more?
Very few towns, some
Okay.
towns, what they've allowed us to do is log one side of the hole as one,
yeah,
and then the other side as an additional, because depending on the size of the machine, the test holes could be close to 20 feet apart, and so but
We're okay with it.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's all.
I'd say
Yeah.
about
Well,
80% of the towns allow just one for a repair.
yeah, well, I think the reason that I asked was, that it says, in the local upgrade said, at least one deep hole has been performed that has been determined by the approving authority that the deep hole adequately characterizes the soils for the purpose of designing the SAS. So it seems like, that's why I asked if you were okay with the,
I am.
okay. All right, so I
so,
guess I'll move to approve the planned, septic system for Audrey Sanford at 208 Saudi Drive, a 3-bedroom repair on a plan dated 10/11/22.
are we doing the revised plan?
Oh,
The revised, the vision
Yeah,
10/31/22?
okay, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Whenever that was, 10/31?
10/31/22
Okay, yep,
today.
10/31, yep,
Yeah.
okay, yep. I'm just reading my notes that I took before. Subject to 3-bedroom deed restriction, a local upgrade waiver, reducing the, distance between the bottom of the SAS and the high groundwater from 4 feet to 3 feet, a reduction in, the 12-inch separation between the inlet and the outlet, the Matt's review of the errors and omission statement and the dosing schedule and a determination to abandon the existing leaching field if that becomes necessary. Leaching pit, if that becomes necessary. And do we need a hold harmless for those? LA waiver?
Yes.
Yeah, and the hold harmless agreement.
And a Concom review?
Oh, guess for this, and Concom review.
Yeah, it's gonna go by Concom and stamp it.
Okay, so I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there's that one. Okay, so put those together. All right, so now we're gonna move on, to, 208, that's where we were, 208, so this is 131 Third Avenue, John Andrade. Say-
13.
13, I'm sorry, 13.
13.
All set?
Yeah,
For the record, Stevie Cavallo of Farland Corp., project manager who was working on this, Chris Gilbert, apologizes for not being able to be present today, but he did fill me in on the scope of work here in this project. Septic repair, not terrible soils. We ended up doing a sieve analysis at the Board of Health agent's request. Came back, soil texture of about 30 minutes per inch. System is designed for 2 bedrooms. The existing house is a 1-bedroom home. And they're okay with the understanding of putting a 1-bedroom deed restriction on this house. It's a tight lot, because of the bordering vegetative wetlands, the existing well, and then the neighboring well. There's also a wetland resource area limit intermittent wellhead protection area closer towards 3rd Avenue. We feel that this system is located in essentially the best possible location. Maintains 100 feet from the neighbor's well, and is about 67 feet from the existing property's well. Well analysis was done, and there were no major concerns on those results. The existing system is located directly behind the house, and it's probably about 45 feet from the existing well. That system's to be abandoned in accordance with Title V. Did not ask for a reduction in groundwater separation. We feel that additional separation, being so close to the wetland, would be kind of unreasonable request, and being so close to the well, that extra foot would provide that additional filtration. That's kind of the scope of work, and we're here presenting it and asking for reduction of wetlands. It's 33 feet to the bordering vegetative wetland, and then less than 100 feet from the existing well.
okay. Matt, do you have comments, or do you want to?
Yeah, just to say, so the well's only 67.9 feet away from the SAS. They did a water analysis, all the results came out good. There was no major things like we had mentioned on this one, and They are gonna do the deed restriction for the one-bedroom dwelling, cause it's an existing one-bedroom dwelling.
Right.
So they'll put a deed, even though they have to design the system to a minimum of 2 bedrooms, they would deed restrict it to 1, otherwise it would be considered an increase in floor, I would imagine. So,
Right, okay.
Other than that, I know Phil and I talked today a little bit about something, and I'll let Phil
Okay.
talk about.
Yeah, so, this relates to the distance from the wetland. And so we have a local regulation which recently underwent revision, but I think because the plan was executed in August and the effective date of the regulation was in October, I think it's subject to the prior regulation. And what it requires is, it says any design for repair of a septic system that is required to be sited within 50 feet of a surface water body or wetlands immediately adjacent to a surface water must meet the standards for nitrogen loading limitations set forth in the nitrogen loading, Title V nitrogen loading limitations. Now, I don't know if, in effect, designing a 2-bedroom system for a 1-bedroom house might actually achieve that. I don't know. But the question that I had, and I tried to do a little research on, was where is the water body in relation to the wetland delineation here?
And that's what I was just trying to see, if I found any sort of,
'Cause I,
water body, and it could just be a bordering vegetative
Right.
wetland that maybe the water body, it could just be an inland kind of depression.
yeah, it could just be based on hydric soils, right?
Right,
Rather
I
than-
mean, I'm looking at the locus here and I don't see an adjacent stream that it ties into.
Yeah,
Or anything like that.
right, yeah. So I mapped it as, much as I could, and just to share this with Dawn if she wants to see it. Like, here's the property line, and here's the delineated wetland. I guess there's some other wetland here, but it's, it doesn't seem like there's anything adjacent to it, so it seems like it's okay in terms of what the regulation says. All that being said, just, as a matter of cleaning up or whatever the septic notes, it says in septic note 9 that, I actually read that, never mind. So it says there are BVWs within 100 feet, whereas I read into that there is, so it acknowledges that there are those there, so that is right. Okay, so I think we're okay with that.
Right, and I think I left the calculation upstairs, but if you use the 440 calculation,
Yeah,
based on the lot size, which is large, 40,000 and change, and it's only 1 bedroom,
yeah,
I think it meets the nitrogen loading
Yeah.
limits anyways.
yeah, so, okay, that's good. All right, so we need, so just looking at, so we need Concom review. We need the setback to the private well at 67. We need the setback to the wetland at 33. The sieve analysis, 3 years of well testing, hold harmless. Anything else?
Deed restrictions you get?
Oh, the deed, right, the 1-bedroom deed restriction. Okay, all right.
So you want me to make a motion?
Yeah,
So I move that we accept the plans, we approve the plans for 13 Third Ave, dated 10/12/22, with variances of a sieve analysis, setback from the SAS to the well, less than 100 feet, which would be 67.9 feet, Setback from the wetlands is less than 50 feet to 33 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Conditions, with the following conditions: hold harmless agreement, 1-bedroom deed restriction, Concom review, and 3 years of well testing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're all
Thank you.
set? All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Have we completed all our business?
I believe so.
I think we have. All right. I haven't forgotten how to do it.
Okay. If there's no other business, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 5:26 PM.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And happy Halloween to all those who view this.
Yes, happy Halloween.